Breyer's Music Showcase is brought to you by the people over at Patreon. Pledge today and get access to exclusive perks. Link in the description. So this is kind of funny. I was certain I didn't acquire as many CDs as I did last year, because last year I acquired 400 CDs. Well, after doing the math, I found out I actually did acquire more CDs this year. A whopping 402. Big leap, I know. But of those 402 CDs, 10 of them had to be duds, and this year is no exception. So in this video, I'm going to showcase the 10 worst CD discoveries of 2025. And for those who are new to this channel, just know that this is not the 10 worst albums that came out in 2025. These are the 10 albums that I heard for the first time that just so happen to be in the bottom 10. If that makes any sense, then you're good. And the last thing, just know this is all my personal opinion. If you like some of these albums, then again, let me know why you like these in the comments below. But keep in mind, I'm going to be kind of brutal on a few of these. But if you look forward to these types of videos, then please give this a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. So we're going to start off with number 10, so you can say this is the best of the worst. It's going to be Collision Course by Linkin Park and Jay-Z. So this is a collaboration album, and now I love Linkin Park, but having Jay-Z here is kind of a weird combo to me. I mean, I get it, because Jay-Z is kind of on the hip-hop, R&B sort of front, I guess. Linkin Park has a little hip-hop element to them, but I don't know. To me, it just didn't work. So basically what this is just Linkin Park songs and Jay-Z songs morphed together to make one, which probably was, I'm sure it was kind of interesting when it came out, but I don't really hear many people talk about this nowadays. It's kind of like that weird footnote in the band's history, but yeah, it was just kind of okay. I wouldn't say it's horrible, but it all depends if you like the idea of Jay-Z and Linkin Park collaborating on an album. So it didn't work for me, but it was fine at the end of the day. At number 9, now this might be a controversial choice because I know this group has a pretty big following. I know they're very influential in the more electronic music scene. And it's going to be Tangerine Dream. And the one I'm going to have here is going to be Rubicon. Now I've heard this is actually one of their most beloved albums, and so I know there's probably going to be a chunk of Tangerine Dream fans that are probably not going to be happy. But just know, this is the only Tangerine Dream album on in this list, so be happy about that. But just out of the 3 I heard this year, this was kind of the one I didn't really click with the most, because it's pretty ambient focused, because that's another thing about Tangerine Dream, especially during this period. They're very known for the electronic ambient music. And again, this one got tiring after a while. It's basically one song. You have Rubicon Part 1 and Part 2, and it's just nice background music, I guess. Like, this could be one that I could listen to more, and I could start to appreciate it the more I give it more chances. Same thing can be said about the other Tangerine Dream albums I bought. But yeah, this one was kind of the one I kind of checked out the most, which I know, controversial, maybe a hot take, but still, it's just my opinion. But if you like it, I can kind of understand. But so that's why it's not too high on the list. It's still kind of low here, but it just wasn't one that I really gravitated towards. And now we have a pretty well-known band, and I'm sure I'm not going to get too many flack for this choice. I'm going to talk about the Rolling Stones, and the album that made it here is Undercover. Of course, also one of the worst album covers that I've seen. But yeah, this is a early 80s album. This is 83. And yeah, this is basically the Stones on autopilot. Like, there's really not really any song here that I really remember. Because, you know, it was, as a lot of us know, the band were kind of going through these kind of weird turbulent period. I know they weren't really getting along that well, and it really shows that they were kind of not really giving it their all. Maybe they're kind of phoning it in at certain points. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a couple songs I thought were decent, but I honestly can't remember what they were, which tells you just how much I really cared about this album. And they kind of would stay on this kind of weird plateau downward for quite a few years until they kind of come back up in the late 80s. But overall, this is probably an album that's not really worth your time. You should definitely keep this under the covers. Now we're at number 7, and here is one, again, it's not too bad, but again, it just didn't really resonate with me. And I know there's a few people that talked highly of this album, but Power Station with their self-titled album. And yeah, again, this was kind of, didn't really do anything for me. It was kind of, I kind of checked out on a lot of the songs. I mean, the only thing that's worth noting is that you have Robert Palmer, who is a pretty well-known singer, and then Tony Thompson. I think he's a pretty well-known musician. But yeah, again, similar with the Rolling Stones, there's not really a song that I would go back to. It's just kind of decent, sort of, I guess, pop rock. Maybe a bit new wave, I guess. I don't remember. But yeah, it's like somewhere in the middle here, and yeah, it's kind of reflecting that. But you know, there's some good moments, I'm sure. There's some nice little hooks that came in every once in a while. But yeah, it just was kind of dull. Didn't really leave an impact on me. Not much power to my ears. And we get to number 6, and this is probably one of the most boring albums I've heard. And I know it's from a well-known singer, and that singer is Al Stewart, and I have here Zero She Flies. It's literally just him and an acoustic guitar with 0 hooks in sight. Yeah, I've read that Al is not really a fan of the typical song structure, the whole verse, chorus, that whole thing. He's very much more of a lyricist person, and it does reflect that. But if it's just a guy in an acoustic guitar, that can only do so much to keep my attention. And it doesn't help that, you know, that Al doesn't have the greatest voice in the world. I'm not saying he's like a bad singer. Like, there's definitely some songs where he sounds completely fine, but stuff like this is where it gets very, very tiresome and it becomes a chore. But again, I do like some Al Stewart, but this is so far the worst one I've heard from him. There's just really nothing I want to go back to. But again, it's fine if you like that sort of stuff. And now we come to number 5. And it's gonna be Ryan Adams, Gold. I've actually heard good things about Ryan Adams, and I was actually curious to check out some stuff from him. And this is often seen as one of his best albums, and so I kind of came in with high expectations. But after hearing the album, I'm like, I did not care for this at all. I thought his voice was so generic sounding. It just sounded like your typical early 2000 male singer, if you can picture that, then that's him. And the music itself is also kind of generic. It was just kind of It just was not really that interesting. And yeah, there's really not really many songs that I even kind of liked. The very best, it's like mediocre. But it was disappointing. This is probably the most disappointing album this year. Which is a shame. And you know what? After doing more research on the guy, I think I might like him even less. So I probably won't buy more from him in the future. Shame. Okay, so to my good friend Jason, you know who you are. You are not going to love this next segment. And so either watch this video on mute until this segment's over, or just skip ahead. Maybe if I remember, I'll put a time code so you can skip it. But I'm not going to hold back on this one because people, and this is going to everyone else, I had to sit through one of the worst live albums I've heard to date. And that, ironically, is called The Best Concert Ever by Jonathan Coulton. As I said, this was painful to hear. I mean, for one, it's a guy in acoustic guitar. For the most part, not always, but for the most part, that's what it is. And you get probably the most corny, most bland singer imaginable. This is the type of stuff you hear at an open mic night where it's not that amazing, but you're kind of just sitting there. You have nothing else better to do. You might as well just sit at the bar and just continue to drink, get drunk. Yeah, this was bad. And he's another thing that really irked me is that he's actually kind of more of a comedy singer, where a lot of the songs are very comedic, but the jokes are just so corny and just so, it's just not that interesting too. I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like if you are already familiar with him, you probably won't mind. But if you're a newbie like me, who's not even into this type of like acoustic, sort of folky, rock sort of thing, then you're just going to be bored out of your mind and you're just going to cringe a lot of the time. And this one has the cringiest moments where he does a cover of Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back, which I'm not even a fan of that song to begin with, but hearing a white guy do it, I would rather hear the Sir Mix-a-Lot version. Like, that makes more sense than this. So, man, I was really, this was a chore to get through. I had to listen to it because we had an album exchange, so I had to hear the whole thing, and it was one of the hardest listens I've done in the album exchange. So, Jason, again, hopefully you heard this in mute or you skipped ahead, because, yeah, that was not a good listen, but I gotta be honest. So, again, nothing against you. But the next one you did, I forgot what the next album you picked was, but it was definitely better than that one. So keep that in mind. Well, we've come to number 3, and you're probably wondering, what could be worse than Jonathan Coulton? Well, I mean, it goes without saying. Yeah, even though I was very annoyed with the Jonathan Coulton one, shocking enough, I would rather hear that than this. So I'm going to make this one kind of quick because what has not been said about this, but you know, bad drum sound, long songs, and bad production. Yeah, it just kind of speaks for itself. So yeah, I don't really have much else to add really. I'm just going to go ahead, move on. And now, what can be worse than Saint Anger, you might think? Well, again, this might be another hot take. The Residents. Meet the Residents. Now, I know, this one's actually very recent. I literally bought this a month ago. And, again, this could be a case where, in the moment, it's not clicking for me right now, but who knows? Maybe in the distant future, maybe it will click. But right now, as of now, this is one of the worst albums I heard in my life. It's their experimental music, and this is one of those experimental albums where it just doesn't work for me. I think the songs are just kind of noise, and I don't really know what they're trying to do here. It's just completely going over my head. I mean, I think the artwork's kind of funny. I like that because it's literally just a Beatles parody. But the songs themselves, if you can call them that, I don't know what to make of it. It's just nothing to me I can really gravitate towards. Again, this is bad, and this was annoying, but at least they're somewhat structured, while these are just weird mess of noise, if that makes sense. Sorry that took too long. But yeah, this was another like weird listen. It was also kind of hard to get through. But I know this album has a lot of fans, so I'm sorry if I'm not one of them. But again, I gotta be real with you. And now we've come to number 1. And for the first time, I'm gonna kind of break my own rules here, because really, it's a 3-way tie for number 1. And it's all by the same project. And that project is Enigma. So I have this one, and like, I'm sure this is Roman numerals, I'm not gonna bother saying it, but this one's called The Screen Behind the Mirror, and this last one is called a French, something French. I think it's French. I don't know. But yeah. This is some of the most boring music I've heard in my life. And again, it's more of that new age ambient sort of scene. And again, earlier in the list, I showed another ambient album with Tangerine Dream. And you would think that would mean that album would be lower on the list, or higher in this case. But at least Rubicon, that I can kind of see myself like maybe getting it over time. This stuff, I really don't see myself really being interested in at all. It's just the same boring, just ambient sort of sound. And you know, maybe it's fine, maybe in the background, but if you're just sitting there and actually trying to actually listen, there's just so much nothingness going on. It's just supposed to make you feel calm, and maybe in a perfect mood it would work, but for me, I don't really see myself in that right mood or mindset to get into this stuff. So I know Enigma, I think they did have a hit before, but obviously that hit's not on any of these really. But it's just nothing to me. I have zero use for this. Again, at least this is interesting. This is funny to make fun of. This is cringy, but at least, again, it's actual songs. Again, same story, actual songs. Actual, you know, has singing in it. Has some energy to this one. They're a legendary band. I already talked about this. And I like Linkin Park. I like the Linkin Park segments. But here, I got nothing. I got nothing here that I could say I really like. Nor can I say I dislike, which is probably one of the worst types of albums that you can't, it's either a love or a hate. It's just flatline. So there you have it. Those are the top 10 worst album discoveries of 2025. So just to briefly recap, because I know I'm going on a bit too long here. We have these 3 Enigma albums at number 1. Number 2 is Meet the Residents. Number 3, Saint Anger. They got a little mixed up. I think Jonathan Colton was next. Then it was Ryan Adams. Then I think it was Al Stewart, Power Station, Rolling Stones, Tangerine Dream, and then Linkin Park and Jay-Z. Well, there you have it. Hopefully you did enjoy this. Again, there might have been more hot takes in this episode of 10 worst than I originally thought there would. But hopefully you enjoyed some of my rants. And again, if I offended you, feel free to defend some of these albums in the comments. But hopefully you'll still stick around, because next week I will reveal the top 50 of the best CD discoveries of 2025. And in that video, I'll be a lot more positive. So look forward to that. Until then, if you enjoyed this, then please give the video a like or dislike it if you really didn't like this. But leave a comment below what are your thoughts on my choices. And if you want to support the channel, check me out on Patreon. And until then, I will see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye for now.